Hey guys, it's Tom. So the movie that came out over the weekend that everybody's been talking about, and the movie that I'm going to review in this video is for Disney Pixar's Finding Dory. That's right guys, Finding Dory is finally here. This was one of my most anticipated movies of this year. If you watch my most anticipated movies of 2016 video, I mentioned that. I'll put a link down below in the description for you to watch that and hear me talk about how excited I was for this movie. Now guys, Finding Dory is of course the sequel to the 2003 Disney Pixar film Finding Nemo. So it's been 13 years since Finding Nemo, which is crazy to think about. I remember seeing that in theaters, so of course I was very, very excited to see Finding Dory. So before I say anything else, let me get into the basic plot of this movie. So Finding Dory takes place 1 year after the events of Finding Nemo. Dory is now living with Marlin and Nemo, who are happily reunited, and she's having these strange flashbacks. She's remembering things which is unusual for her because she has short-term memory loss. But maybe someone says something that triggers a memory, and she's having all these flashbacks to her family because she starts questioning, where is her family? Because she had to have had one, because she had to have come from somewhere. So she's so certain that they're out there, so she goes on an adventure to go find them, and lo and behold, she gets kidnapped and is taken to a marine life institute. Now, if this sounds familiar, believe me, in the movie they even address this like, not again, but it makes for some very, very good scenes, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So that's the basic plot to Finding Dory. Now, probably the big question that is on everyone's mind is Finding Dory good? Yes, it is. Is it better than Finding Nemo? Well, we'll get into that. First, let me just talk about some things in the movie. Well, let's start with the cast in this movie. First of all, I don't think I need to tell you that Ellen DeGeneres is fantastic as Dory. She brings this character to life. She is so witty and funny, and I don't think I needed to tell you how good she is. She is fantastic in Finding Dory. Albert Brooks as Marlin is, again, great. He and Ellen DeGeneres have such good chemistry, even if it's just their voices. And I also really like that Marlin in this movie got a good, significant amount of screen time, despite the fact that he's not the main character of this movie. His name's not in the title. But he does get a good amount of screen time, and he does have some really, really nice character development and some character traits that have been brought over from the first movie that haven't changed, but it's for the better, I assure you. Or if they address that in this movie. So Albert Brooks is great as Marlin. The voice of Nemo has changed. Obviously, he's not voiced by Alexander Gould like he was in the first film, because he voiced him when he was, I think, 7 or 8 years old. He's now 21, so his voice has, of course, changed. So he is now voiced by the newcomer, and I'm going to try and get this name right, Hayden Rollins. He voices Nemo in this movie, and truth be told, you really can't tell the difference. He does a great job as Nemo, with the same passion and energy that Alexander Gould did in the first one. And Alexander Gould does return in a cameo. Look for his name in the credits to see who he voices. So it's great that Pixar didn't forget about him. And we also have some newcomers to this movie. I'm just going to read off their names. Ed O'Neill as Hank, the Septopus. Very funny role. He was a great addition. Caitlin Olsen as Destiny, a whale that Dory meets in the Marine Life Institute. Also a very funny character. Ty Burrell as Bailey, who is also very, very funny. Diane Keaton and Eugene Levy as the voice of Dory's parents. And Idris Elba and Dominic West as a pair of sea lions. Now, I had to laugh because this marks the 3rd time this year that Idris Elba has voiced an animal in an animated film. He did that with Zootopia, The Jungle Book, and now he's doing it again in Finding Dory. So good record there, Idris Elba. And this movie has possibly the best Pixar cameo. In other words, someone is actually voicing themselves. I don't want to give it away, but when it happened in the movie, It floored me. I was just laughing. I thought it was so incredibly well placed and so funny, and it has to be their greatest cameo. It might be their only cameo. I'm not 100% certain on that, but if it's not the only one, it's got to be the best. So, guys, another big question about Finding Dory is, how does this movie compare to Finding Nemo? How does it work as a sequel to Finding Nemo? Well, I would say that this movie, Finding Dory, I wasn't as emotionally touched like I was in Finding Nemo. Not to say that there weren't some parts where I did cry. You know, Pixar is a master at making us cry and giving us the feels, as people say, even though I don't personally like to say that phrase myself. But that's what they do brilliantly. There were tons of moments in this movie that had me emotionally invested, and I did shed a tear or two. But I did not find it as emotionally investing as Finding Nemo, which is nothing, of course, to be ashamed of. That's just how I felt. I would also say that some things in this movie kind of came off as sequel bait. Now, I don't want to get into any spoilers or anything like that, but there were a few things or characters in this movie that when they were brought up, I was, of course, very happy to see them. And then after it happened, it was kind of like I was smiling, and then the critic in me was kind of just going, oh, okay, that, was kind of in there as fan service, which is, fine for a lot of people, but I had to think, it would kind of came off a little bit as sequel bait. And another thing about this movie is that there are some things in this movie, and I'm not talking about from the first movie, just things that are just in this movie alone that seemingly kind of came out of nowhere. And what I mean by that is, like, things happen or a character says something, and it seemed very, not convenient, but it just seemed very, like, I kind of sat there just going, okay, I'll accept that. And that was, I don't know how I felt about that, but there were a few things in the movie that kind of just happened, and I kind of just leaned in and accepted it. But overall, guys, I really, really liked Finding Dory. If you watched my most anticipated movies of 2016, yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. I was really, really looking forward to this movie, and I had tons of fun watching this movie. And truth be told, if you are a fan of Finding Nemo, which I assume you are if you're watching this video, you are probably going to have an absolute joy watching this movie. You're going to be so happy seeing these characters and seeing what new things they bring to the table, what you love about the old characters in the first film, those are retained. That is one thing I was so happy to see. And another thing I was very happy to see in this movie is that it's so easy nowadays to dumb down the humor in animation movies. It is so juvenile. Before this movie, they showed a couple of previews for other animated movies, which I will not say because I don't want to rag on those movies that haven't come out yet. But there were some jokes in those previews that came across as really, it's a fart joke. Oh, great, because that's what every kid loves nowadays, fart jokes. But I did like the fact that it does not rely on slapstick humor. This movie is very witty with its dialogue, with its humor, and we also learn a lot of origins for things that happen in Finding Nemo. For instance, we learn how Dory met Marlin. I mean, in the first film, they just bump into each other, but you know why Dory was in that spot. You know why Dory thinks she can speak whale, because in the first film, it was this hilarious thing, I'm going to try it. But in this film, you kind of see that she has a little bit of origins doing that, if that makes any sense. So it were just little things like that that really made me smile, and really happy to see, that this movie was not just a blatant cash grab and just boost the nostalgia. Like, hey, you like Finding Nemo? Well, we're gonna make a sequel to that and just kind of do it. No, I think they really honed their craft with this movie. So overall, I would say that Finding Dory is one of the best Pixar sequels. I mean, there haven't really been that many. I would say it's more on the level of Monsters University as opposed to, like, say, Toy Story 2. If anybody's wondering about Cars 2, I remember seeing that when it came out, and I kind of liked it at the time. I have not seen it since, and I've heard terrible things about it, so I'm not really looking forward to going back and rewatching it, so I can't comment on if it's better than Cars 2, but I will say probably most Pixar fans will say it is better than Cars 2, and a lot of people say it wouldn't, take much effort to beat that. But I would say this was on the level of Monsters University as opposed to Toy Story 2. Now, you must know, I love Monsters University, so I love this movie. Just say that it's on that level. It didn't quite outdo the first movie for me. Like I said, I didn't feel as emotionally hit as the first film. Some things in this film did come off kind of sequel baity-ish, and some things in this movie kind of seemingly came out of nowhere, where I kind of just leaned in and accepted that it happened. Now, of course, it had to happen to progress the story, and I'm not going to default it from that. But maybe there could have been like a few more seconds of setup, or maybe have an explanation for why this character said this. Again, I don't want to get into spoilers, but certain things like that really kind of made it not so much on the Toy Story 2 level of sequel, where it is just as good, if not outshines the original. So guys, like I said, I had tons of fun watching Finding Dory, and you will too. Go take your family, go take your brother, go take your sister, go take your parents, because they probably took you to see Finding Nemo. Like I said, I saw it when I was young. My parents took me, and I would take my parents to see Finding Dory. They will have tons of fun seeing it, and so will you. And you're going to love so much about this film. And I'm so glad that Pixar was able to deliver another hit, so to speak, because their last film, The Good Dinosaur, while I did enjoy it overall, my main problem with it is that it didn't feel like a Pixar film. And that film also went through a bunch of production problems. I think it switched directors halfway through. I think it was supposed to come out, like, I want to say in 2013, but it actually came out in 2015 last year. And so it faced a lot of production problems, and watching it, I could kind of tell. And also, not to mention, that movie came out in the same year as Inside Out, which blew me away. If you guys watch my top 10 movies video, which I will put a link in the description down below for that, that made my list. That had a very special place on my list. And Finding Dory will definitely have a place in my favorite movies of the year so far. I don't want to come across as I really hated this movie. I really didn't. It was just little things that didn't quite do it for me in terms of like putting it on the same level as the original or even better. So guys, that is my review for Finding Dory, and in the end, I'm going to give Finding Dory 4 Dorys out of 5. That's right, 4 Dorys out of 5. Guys, if you have seen Finding Dory, what did you think of it? Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more movie reviews. I'm going to be bringing those back. I'm going to hopefully put some more up in the next few days. So subscribe for those, like this video, and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of Finding Dory, if you saw it, if you're going to see it, and if you have any special memories of seeing the original Finding Nemo back in 2003. I would say I remember when that movie was coming out, I remember Pixar launched this website where you could learn all about the actual animals, where you could learn about the clownfish, you could learn about the hammerhead shark, and that is like a special memory that I remember very much, and obviously going to see it in the theater, and of course watching it countless times on DVD when I bought it. And before I forget, don't leave during the credits. There is something after the credits, and it's something that will probably make you smile. That's all I'll say. Again, no spoilers here, but don't leave during the credits. I saw a bunch of families get up when I was in my theater, and I thought to myself, I'm going to stay and watch. This is the Marvel age of movies where we stay after the credits, and sure enough, there was something afterwards that just made me smile. So guys, that's my review for Finding Dory. Like I said, what did you think of it? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe and like this video. So guys, thank you so much for watching. My name is Tom Rutia, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.